Hello, my name's Robert M. Ellis, and this video is to tell you a little bit about the new course that I'm offering in Objectivity training based in the Malvern Hills. A little bit about me first of all. I'm a philosopher with a PhD in philosophy. I have a lot of experience of teaching and lecturing, including teaching critical thinking to young people. I have some experience of Buddhist practice, and I've also taken a great deal of interest in psychology in recent years. I've written a lot of books about middle way philosophy, which is a thoroughly practical philosophy, bringing together these different kinds of influences for practical purposes. And I founded the Middle Way Society to help develop that kind of philosophy and to help create a community to try to put it into operation. Objectivity training is a kind of outgrowth of that, but you can engage without necessarily engaging in the wider middle way philosophy. Objectivity training could be described as trying to clean the windows of our judgment. We judge things all the time, whether they're facts or moral issues or everyday questions. We have to come to conclusions about things, what we believe and what we don't. But very often, in reaching judgments about things, we're impeded in various ways. There are various sources of information about what it is that impedes us, that gets in the way. These are the different sources of information that are drawn on in objectivity training. So they include cognitive biases, which you know of from psychology. They include fallacies, which are mistakes in thinking, which are known in critical thinking, which is a kind of outgrowth of philosophy and the skills that are used in philosophy traditionally. They also consist in absolute beliefs, and the Buddhist tradition is quite helpful in some ways in helping us to become more aware of those. So objectivity training is concerned with understanding these kinds of ways in which our judgment can be interfered with, but also we're providing frameworks for understanding the relationship between these different kinds of faults that we can get into, these errors, and methods of avoiding them. So ultimately, the goals are positive. They're about making better judgments. The basic course in objectivity training, which I'll be offering, aims to make you familiar with 15 different areas or aspects of judgment, each of which can provide unexamined assumptions which interfere with our judgment at any stage. I won't go through all 15 of these here because this is a short introductory video. However, just to highlight one or two of them. Confirmation bias is perhaps the most basic of these areas. We tend to look for what it is that already fits in with our beliefs and interpret the experiences we have in line with what it is that we want to be confirmed. That could be seen as the basic kind of absolutization which we find underlying all the other kinds of errors we make. Then to highlight one other, time. Time is a very important aspect of our judgment, because we tend to assume that this moment, or the moment we're thinking about, is the only one, the one that matters more than all the other times. We tend to forget that we may feel differently about something in half an hour's time, let alone in 10 years' time. So objectivity training aims to provide a training in spotting and anticipating and avoiding the kinds of errors we might make that stop us getting to grips with what's going on. Can be applied in all sorts of ways. Personal and spiritual development is perhaps the most basic one. The decisions we have to make in our lives. Moral and political judgment is also important. Whether or not you ever have to make political judgments of any importance, you will always need to make moral ones. Study and research skills, particularly if you're working in science, for example, but even if you're studying any other subject, you'll need to make judgments constantly. you will need to understand the subject that you're studying without these impediments. Effective decision making in businesses and organisations is another possible application of objectivity training. It may make all the difference between a good and helpful business decision that helps your business to thrive and making a crucial error that is very bad for that business. The first objectivity training course I will be holding will be in Malvern, Worcestershire in England, on the beautiful Malvern Hills, between the 31st of May and the 3rd of June 2016. This will be an intensive 4-day course, full of the daytime throughout those 4 days. It needs to be an intensive course in order to give you an overview of those 15 areas that we're trying to train you in. If you can see them all together, rather than just seeing them in sequence, that will help you hopefully to gain a much more effective view of how they interrelate and interact with each other. For more information about this course, please go to my website robertmellis.net. On the top line of that website you'll see one of the menu items is Objectivity Training. If you hover over that, you'll also see one of the items on the menu is Malvern Objectivity Training Course. That's where you'll find the details specifically of this course. If you go to the Objectivity Training page in general, you'll find more about objectivity training in general. On that website as a whole, you can also find out more about me in general. This course is organised and will be led by me. It's also being supported by the Middle Way Society. I would in the future also like to hold further courses in other places. So if you're interested in supporting me in that, please do get in touch. You'll find more contact details on that website.